Thank you for coming. Welcome to the first ever, the Mossy Side with the Moose. I, guys, am the Progressive Moose. I live in Northern Ontario. I'm your average Canadian, in all honesty, that is very passionate about politics and human rights. So here I am. I was invited to join Beaver Politics, and I am absolutely excited about it. Um, I'm. They're doing fantastic work, guys. It's what we need right now. We need people to band together and we need to be able to have these conversations, get the information out, and just have all of us here to be able to participate in things, right? Because unless we can organize, unless we can actually do all this, work together, get the message out together, nothing's going to change. I say it all the time. I'm for everyone. I'm for everyone having equality in every way, shape, and form we can make it. And the only way we can do that is by making sure that we band together and stand with together with all the issues going on right now across Canada. So that's my goal. And a part of that goal is sharing information with you guys. So I'm glad to do it. Um, with that, we are going to be talking about current situation when it comes to American tariffs towards Canada. And of course, other countries as well, but we'll be focusing more on the Canadian aspect of it. And yeah, I talked about it on my live on Sunday. Um, there's a lot of information coming out pretty much every day, guys. It's hard to keep up with it all, especially all the different aspects, all the avenues, uh, what's going to be affected and to what degree, what sectors, what possible implications for the Canadian people there is with all this stuff. And of course, there have been some reports come out and some information come out that there could be some good stuff and good avenues Canada can go to lessen the blow and potentially make it so we're not so reliant on trade with the United States, especially within our industrial sectors, where it's not just a matter of the trade aspect, but how we manufacture together as a whole, guys. Like it's a step by step process between us and the United States. I use auto sector a lot for prime example, where we start building a vehicle, we'll ship it down there, they put parts on it, or do certain things to it, ship it back, we finish making it, and then ship it back down. We sell it to the American side, and that's how a lot of sectors are for Canadians when it comes to trade with America. So I've been taking in so much information, guys, on this stuff, trying to find the best information to give you guys. And I do want to go through an article with you guys um, because it says it the best. And I tried to come up with my own write up on it. And I'll be honest, it was hard for me to do. Normally, I'm pretty good at being able to put something together and have it flow and make sense. And I just couldn't do it on the current situation right now with the tariffs, guys. So if you don't know the ins and outs, I'm going to do my best to try and break it down, especially the information I believe um, is relevant and very important. And at the end, there is actually some more hope in terms of there might be a way to be able to essentially, I'll say it like this, delay the election. We know it's inevitable, but there is a possible way to kind of end the nonsense. And as long as all the parties are willing to play ball, so to speak, and work together on dealing with this tariff situation, it'd be really telling on the different parties where they stand in terms of actually standing up for Canadian citizens, making sure we're taken care of, that we're not going to lose jobs because of the tariffs, that we're not going to see an increase in the cost of living due to resources or um, supply issues, trade issues, right? But before I get into the article, guys, I just want to remind you, keep tapping that like button. Share the live, guys. Let people know we're here. We're getting into the nitty gritty of things. And yeah, let's get into it. So, There has been, and okay, so the article, before I get into the article, is from the Globe and Mail. As much as I hate to say that, it really is a good article. I'm normally not a fan, but they kind of did a good job on this one. So credit where credit's due, guys. I'm not biased. When it comes to party lines, I will call out anything that isn't right, and I will give credit where credit's due. Same with media. I realize there's upsides and there's downsides to mainstream media, and you need to be able to see things with that nuance and be able to see the differences when need be on that stuff, right? You can't just be a one camp sort of thing where you only listen to this or you only watch that. You have to be able to read, watch, all that stuff, take in different perspectives so you can get the whole picture. And that's really what I do when it comes to trying to bring information to you guys. Um, yeah, so Globe and Mail, Ottawa planning pandemic level relief for workers, businesses if Trump imposes tariffs, sources say. The federal government is planning a multi-billion-dollar pandemic-style bailout for workers and businesses if U.S. President Trump follows through on his threat to impose 25% tariffs on Canadian goods as early as February 1st. Two sources say. Their sources said some of the measures, such as waiving the 1 week period for employment insurance benefits, do not require parliamentary approval. But the bulk of potential spending on new programs to help laid off workers and businesses affected by tariffs will require legislative approval, which could not take place until Parliament resumes sitting on March 24th. So at this point, guys, what they're saying is they're looking at implementing different things that they could do without having to go through Parliament to do, right? It's essentially like an emergency relief, like we saw during COVID. And that's honestly, I think if the tariffs were to happen, especially at the 25% that we're talking about, Canadians are going to need something to be able to help them out. Yes, it's not a pandemic, but it's still something that's going to have massive implications. Guys, tariffs like this could send us into a recession. And we definitely don't need that. So again, we find ourselves in a position where the country and the consumers, the people, the Canadians are going to need help with their everyday costs, right? We're going to see um, auto sector has been screaming that if the tariffs happen, like there's going to be layoffs, there's going to be massive layoffs, right? And I'll always go back to the auto sector because it's the most intricate when it comes to trade, when it comes to dealing with the United States. It really is prime, perfect example in my mind, right? The auto industry, so many people will get laid off. Now you got to think of, okay, how are they going to take care of themselves? How are they going to possibly get new education to be able to get into a different sector and get the ball rolling and give themselves another career, right? That sort of stuff. It's massive to get the amount of layoffs that we would probably see across so many different sectors. The government is going to have to come up with something to be able to redirect workers to where either A, they're needed, of course, um, or where they want to go. And hopefully those two things coincide and it would work out. So, yeah, tariffs on the steel, then tariffs on the finished products, right? Cars being an example. Thank you, Rad Mike, for that. You're absolutely right. Sorry, guys, a bit scratchy. You're absolutely right on that. Um, think of the minerals, think of the resources, base resources that we trade, right? So we're going to pay tariffs on that. And then whatever the finished product is, there's also going to be tariffs. So it's not a matter of just paying the tariffs once. We're going to be paying the tariffs, or the businesses will be paying the tariffs multiple times, depending on what sector they're in, what they make, how that process goes back and forth when it comes to production, that sort of stuff. Um, yeah, so such as waiving. Oh, I did that. So the Globe and Mail is not identifying the sources who were not authorized to discuss cabinet deliberations. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau prologued government on January 6th, the day he announced his plan to step down and call a leadership contest as he faced the prospect of being defeated by the opposition parties. This suspended parliamentary activity, including sitting in the Commons and Senate. The government expects U.S. tariffs could lead to mass layoffs and drive up the cost of goods for consumers. Canadian companies will likely respond not only by cutting jobs, but by curtailing production. Businesses would lose money and some would have to close. The source said that the emergency measures would help Canadians pay for rent and groceries and allow businesses to pay bills and meet payrolls. Yeah, so again, the government would be making sure that people and businesses could take care of the bills and continue to operate through hard times. Okay, so I realized there would absolutely be a price tag, which is coming up in the next little bit here, and you have to weigh your options on that, right? It's so many people that I hear on the right talk about this sort of stuff keep saying you need to run a country like a business, right? But when they say that, they mean be cheap, don't pay your workers a living wage, make sure you're saving your dimes, you're saving your nickels, be stingy. I agree it should be run like a business, but I believe the way business should be run is you take care of your workers because the better you take care of your workers, the happier they will be and production will be up, right? And when I say take care of your workers, living wage, benefits, okay, time off, all that sort of stuff. Make it so they can actually have a life outside of their job or career. Okay, that's taking care of your workers, not forcing them to be on the line somewhere for 12 hours a day with next to no breaks. Sounds familiar? Oh, yes, Amazon. Okay, so moving on, of course. Um, Ontario Premier Doug Ford, who's expected to call an election, he has, if I'm not mistaken, or has said he's going to. So that's pretty much confirmed. Has said he believes tens of billions of dollars in pandemic style spending will be needed to keep the economy afloat in the event of U.S. tariffs. He has also said the tariffs could cost Ontario 500,000 jobs. Okay, that's a little piece in the article, guys, but there's a lot in there to unpack. I live in Ontario, guys. I live in Northern Ontario, as I said earlier. So listen, I don't like Doug Ford. I never have. The guy is corrupt as hell. Okay, the only people that he's helping is his rich buddies by giving them more money through all the different policies and whatnot that he's done. Right? Look at what he did with Service Ontario's. Moved it into Staples, and he gave Staples fucking millions of dollars to run that. But when you go and look, unionized workers lost their jobs when he closed the Service Ontario's. Okay? This is the problem. People that actually made a decent living lost their jobs because he needed to give money to his rich buddies. Okay? We see it in other ways. Look at what's going on with Ontario Place. They're going to do what they're doing, and essentially it's going to be a parking lot for his rich buddies to go to work and park their vehicles there. That's what he's doing. He continues to do it. So I'm calling out his BS because it's absolutely there. I don't like the guy. But on this issue alone, he seems to be, he's working with other premiers. He's working with the federal government when it comes to the trade issues right now, right? So we got to give credit where credit's due. Yes, I still don't like the guy. No, I would never vote for him and I don't support him. But on this topic alone, guys, you got to use nuance. And if we can't actually find stuff that we agree with conservatives, with liberals, with NDP, whoever other parties are, right? If you're a liberal voter, you need to be able to have conversations with conservatives and to be able to find the common ground and work out from there. And that's what I like to do when I'm talking about politics. So that's why I can say on this issue, I credit where credit's due to Dougie, okay? And he's coming together on this one, okay? So yeah, and again, the implications of the jobs, right? Ontario would lose 500,000 jobs. Now, I've had conversations about this, all the different branches off of this so many times, guys. And one thing I bring up is look at the crisis that we have, using Ontario for example. But think of your own province, and I'm sure you all know the numbers for your own provinces. In Ontario, we are upwards to like 360,000. Um, there was a different number put out, but they say like, hey, you know what? Like it's we don't actually know how many people. So, but there's so many people that are homeless. There's so many people that are food insecure. You have families that can't afford the rent, can't afford their bills, can't afford to keep the lights on. And now, with everything going on, if the tariffs go into place and we do nothing, that would cost Ontario alone 500,000 jobs, right? So 500,000 jobs or people, they're going to lose their income, can't bring money in for the family, can't take care of their kids if they have kids. Like, that's massive. So, the fact that the government is actually talking about making sure things are covered that way, making it easier to get unemployment, um, taking care of us. And again, just like during COVID, all that relief money, quote unquote, that got sent out was meant to stimulate, right? If you stimulate the economy, what do you need to do that? You need consumers to have money to spend to buy things to stimulate the economy. It's a round circle, right? It just keeps going around and around. So as long as you make sure people can pay their bills and buy things, the economy is going to do better. Yes, you might take a hit in terms of how much money you have to put into such a thing, but in the long run, it gets the country through the hard time so that we have something to look forward to afterwards as it gets better, right? So, exactly. Money in, money out. Absolutely. UBI, absolutely. UBI right there. That's what I'm talking about. UBI, guys, have been has been talked about for how long now? And when still just a conversation. Um, yeah, like I don't know what to tell you. It's still a conversation. Mark Carney is for UBI, so if he ends up getting the Liberal leadership, I mean, there's a more real possibility it would become a thing. But um, I mean, I'm very hopeful. I hope someday we actually see UBI, and I hope we see it sometime soon. I really do. Moving forward, though, guys, with the article, this is what I mean. It's a deep dive. It's talking about all the different branches, all the different things that are affected. Um, the politics kind of related to what's going on right now. It's the Mossy Side, guys. We're going to jump from one thing to another, but it's all related. It's branches off the same tree, right? That's how I look at everything. Everything's interconnected. You just got to figure out how it's connected. And you can find those branches, guys. You just got to pay attention and stay focused as I squirrel out and not read more. All right. So when COVID-19 struck in 2020, the government rolled out an 82 billion aid package to help Canadians and businesses that included income support, wage subsidies, and tax deferrals. The measures included 27 billion in direct support to workers and another 55 billion to help businesses liquidity through tax deferrals. One of the sources said that the federal cabinet is of the opinion that billions of dollars of aid do not need to flow immediately. Even if Mr. Trump hits Canada with punishing tariffs on February 1st, they note a January 20th executive order from Mr. Trump suggests a different timeline. The America First trade policy order directs federal officials, including the Secretary of Commerce, by April 1st to investigate the United States trade deficit with major trading partners and also assess unlawful migration and fentanyl flows from Canada, Mexico, and China into the United States, and recommended appropriate trade and national security measures to resolve the emergency. Okay, so on that one, guys, I do want to do a quick breakdown here. So I don't remember the numbers. I wish I would have actually looked it up, so I actually had them for you. He wants to talk about illegal immigration across the border. Under my understanding, again, I apologize, I don't actually have the numbers here in front of me. Under my understanding, even during his first presidency, we saw and had more illegal migration coming across the border from the US to Canada than Canada did to the United States. Um, there was quite a bit, people, and this is the biggest thing we're looking at right now, too. How many people down the United States are scared and fleeing, right? The Canadian government and provincial governments have been getting geared up on the border to deal with increase of people coming across the border. Um, so this is this is the whole thing. Like Trump can say all these different nonsensical things, but when you actually look at the data, like what he says is not the case. And yeah, guys, it's a strong arm negotiation tactic, but I mean, it's causing damage one way or another, right? With all the stuff that he does. Um, yeah, like it's insane. Guys, I'm gonna take a minute, have a drink here, but don't forget, tapping is clapping. Keep tapping that like button, guys. Keep sharing. Let people know we're here. Let's get the messages and the information out there to other people. Just a little bit more there, guys, to go. Um, and then we will open it up for discussion on this stuff. I do want to skip forward a little bit because I feel like there was way too much here, especially for the time frame. So, in his first term, Mr. Trump imposed a 25% tax on Canadian steel products and 10% on aluminum. Canada retaliated with its own tariffs on American goods, and Mr. Trump later relented in the face of domestic pressure. Separately, Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly said Monday that she is contacting international allies as Ottawa tries to dissuade Mr. Trump from proceeding with tariffs. So, guys, there has been a lot of talk of creating new trade agreements and getting more countries on board in terms of trading with Canada in different sectors, which, guys, we're a G7 country, right? We already do so much trade with the EU. Um, I mean, it'd be really likely, and don't get me wrong, like, it's more of a long term goal, long term fix, right? Like, it's not, you're not going to just come up with a trade deal or a trade agreement with a new country overnight. So there's still going to be those initial implications. Um, depending what we do in retaliation and how things actually go and how it affects the economy. Um, there's a lot of different mechanisms, a lot of different things that can change the outcome on that stuff, and it's a matter of putting the puzzle pieces together when they fall and just figuring it out from there, right? But yeah, so trade with other countries in different ways is absolutely a long-term goal, and we wouldn't be so reliant on the United States. I think honestly would be a good thing on the global market. It would be beneficial. Um, but yeah, in the long run, that'd probably be a great idea, especially if we're going to start seeing more and more politicians like Donald Trump and those he surrounds himself with. Um, and to add to that, not just the politicians around him, but the business owners, the tech giants, of course, that's at his inauguration, pretty much kissing his boots, giving them a good spit shine while they're down there. Um, yeah, so uh, where did 36 states? Sorry, guys, I'm just looking for one last point here to make sure I've got the information right. So, trying to find it here. So, the source said that the aid package could be ready to roll out once Parliament resumes, but it would require cooperation from the opposition parties in that they would have to delay their declared intention of bringing down the minority Liberal government until the relief legislation is adapted. The Conservatives, Bloc Québécois, and NDP have all said they would defeat the Liberal government at the first opportunity. No discussions have taken place with the opposition parties at this point, the sources say. So that's what I said right at the beginning. Remember, I said there's a way we could kind of delay an election with the tariff issues right now. That's how it could happen. So if each party, if the opposition parties could hold off on the non confidence motion, we could see a delay to the election. Excuse me, I apologize. Um, but that means that all the parties have to play nice with each other. So we'll see what happens. My prediction, guys, I honestly don't know what the Conservatives are going to do. It it really like that decision when they sit again at the end of March, that decision that every party makes, people need to pay attention and we need to make sure we get the message out. Whatever the each party says, we get that message out because that's a clear indicator as to where the parties stand when it comes to are they actually there for the people? Are they there for us? Right? Because if they say no, we still want to go ahead with non confidence and do an election, that's pretty much them spitting in your face, saying we really don't care. Right? My prediction is at least the NDP will come out and say, you know what, we're willing to stave off to make sure that we take care of Canadians. And of course, if this is the Liberal plan, the Liberals will also do so. The Bloc, honestly, I'd give it a 50-50. I would like to think that they would actually do the right thing to be able to help Canadians and stave off this election and actually take care of us instead of the theater that we've seen in Parliament for how long now. Um, that's exactly what it is, and that's what I call it. It's theater, essentially, in Parliament, guys.
Uh,
Um, oh, Smarshy, I hear ya. Let's open it up, guys. Smarshy, you got something to say?
okay, so I did find the numbers for Trump's deportation when he was in office from 2020 or no
Hmm.
2016 to so what I could see was Southwest border apprehensions more than doubled in 2020 2019, driven by increased families apprehensions at the U.S. Mexican border.
Yep.
852,000, 302,000 were single adults, 76 were unaccompanied minors, and 474 were family units. But it doesn't, and then it just goes on. ICE arrests went up after Trump took office, but remain lower
Hmm.
than during Obama's tenure. So he got to like 143,000 deportees. He wanted to do 3 million in that
And
time
that's
frame.
yeah, yeah. So that's the southern border, yes?
That's the southern border. Yeah, they're
Okay.
not talking about the northern border. They're only focusing on the southern border.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
thank you. Yeah,
these are
sorry,
basically
and thank you. You
no problem.
just quickly, you reminded me of a point that absolutely forgot to say. So, guys, when I was talking about the border stuff there, um, the public safety minister on the border, 4 hours ago, 5 hours ago, had done a press conference and actually talked about different things. And one of the things he talked about was the fentanyl complaint that Trump and um, their U.S. federal government has at this point. And so less than 1% of the fentanyl going into the United States comes from Canada, right? It was what, 43 pounds in 12 months is what they found or seized going from Canada to the U.S. Um, and that's 1%, guys. The full number overall, 21,900 pounds coming from other countries that aren't Canada, right? So 43 pounds versus 21,900. Like that's a massive difference. So when Trump starts going off about how fentanyl is going down in the States from Canada and, them damn
You can't say
Canadians and
that
their
word.
drug problem.
You can't say that word. You have to say substances.
Oh, my apologies. So the substances coming across the border, it's it's just nonsense, guys. Um, Sorry, I just remembered that you remind me of it, so I had to make sure I threw that out there. Anyone else got want to chime in?
Yes.
What do you think
Hi.
at this point? Hi,
Well, hi, first of all. You're doing a great job.
thank you.
So first of all, I'm from Ontario as well.
Hmm.
And so we're in the ones facing with the election that's happening within 28 days, right? So,
Hmm.
however, as far as the whole issue with you know, with Doug Ford. So
Hmm.
Doug Ford is making his whole election based on the tariffs, right? And saying that he's the only one that can actually do it, right?
Yep.
However, you have to think of the reality is that the other parties, are able and capable of doing it as well, right? And so
Hmm.
when I'm speaking to my American friends and they're listening to, remember the interview when Doug Ford had at Fox News.
Hmm.
Remember that one?
Yep.
Well, I've had a lot of Americans friends call me and say, "Who is this individual?" And I say, "He's our premier," and they're very upset and angry right now. So, is he really doing a great job? Or are we
Well,
thinking
it's
he's doing a great job?
yeah, like it's definitely like he's not doing a great job. When I gave him the credit, it's a matter of like standing against the tariffs and actually working with other premiers and working with the federal government. Like, don't get me wrong, I think him calling an election is completely useless and a waste of taxpayer money. Because his mandate, he says, we've got to have an election for a mandate for the tariffs and the trade issues. Well, no, Dougie, you're running on the same tariffs that got you elected again 2 years ago, and you have another 2 years until when the election is supposed to happen, right? So it's one of those things where I will fully say like it's a waste of taxpayer money. I don't agree with the election, but in terms of his rhetoric and actually working with other, you know, uh, other provinces and the federal government, credit to him on that. And he's had a hard line in terms of the tariffs. Um, you know,
Anything
I
that was
thought honestly at first that he would be like Daniel Smith, but he surprised me in that sense, where he's not groveling at Trump's feet.
well, I'm not surprised about that. I knew he would be this way
Mhm.
because he has a lot of characteristics of Donald Trump. He has a very lot of characteristics of him. So I'm not surprised that he would retaliate like this. And I'm not saying anything negative about it. However, I'm saying that for him to use this as his whole campaign issue, stating that he's the only one that can resolve the tariffs, is not factual. Because the federal government is the one that is actually working on it as well. We know that. They have a committee, they have the ambassador to the U.S. to U.S. to Canada, right? They also have the prime minister. There's a lot of roles involved in this, and do you really believe these tariffs are going to last for 4 years?
Um, they won't last for 4 years. Um,
They're going to
there's
be
gonna
hard,
be
though. They're
there
going to be hard
the
for a while.
the end result of this all this stuff going on, like I said, and it all depends on if he actually does this or that, or he's a wild card. So we have to wait and see what actually happens, and go from there. But essentially, like, trade agreements would have to be rewritten again. So we'd have to go back to renegotiating NAFTA, right? Because as soon as tariffs are applied, whether from America to Canada or Canada to America, that trade agreement essentially becomes null and void because you're going against the agreement in the first place. Uh, and it'll be challenged in courts and whatnot, like we see, or have seen with the softwood lumber agreement. Um, that's still being litigated. It'll go back and forth. The last time they actually came to a decision on the softwood lumber agreement, like, that was in litigation for almost 20 years before it was actually rectified.
It's true.
Uh, so it could end up being the same thing. Hopefully, it doesn't get drawn out that much, of course, but I mean, it's possibilities, right?
Well, yeah,
Uh,
because it's not just about the tariffs, it's because he also wants to make us a 51 state. So he wants to impose these tough tariffs on us so that in his hope, he thinks we're going to, but we're not going to.
yeah, like, even the whole 51st state, like, I just don't believe that that's actually what he wants. I think that's just, again, I think that's a strong arm tactic in terms of, I'm trying to, show that I'm superior somehow and I have the upper hand and I'm such a strong leader. And when in reality, he just makes him look like a fool, in my
He's
opinion.
posturing.
Yeah. No,
Doug Ford
absolutely.
is posturing. We have
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
seen for the last how many years that he has depleted our province. And I do not want to disagree with you, but I agree with the um, election
Mhm.
because what we would save, okay, what it would cost to have an election, we would make that money back if he wasn't reelected over the next few years, in my personal opinion. Because I've watched Doug Ford closely
Mhm.
and I have found him, okay, for an example, if you really think about it, the issue in Ottawa was a provincial problem. And where was he? He took off, okay? He didn't stand up. He didn't even, he did absolutely nothing, honestly. So I'm sorry, but the amount of roads he wants to build and tunnels and parking lots and spas, and that does absolutely nothing for the taxpayers.
No, and you're absolutely right on that, and I do agree with you on those points 1,000%.
I
Um,
don't believe that he has shown us that he can be a strong man all of a sudden because of tariffs, but most of it is done by the federal government anyway.
no, no, and like, when I give him credit for that, like, it's honestly, like, in a full perspective, my whole opinion on Doug Ford, like, that's crumbs from a loaf of bread that I'm kind of like, all right, man, you get to eat a crumb today, like, you get a
That's
cookie, but
right.
that's it. Yeah.
He
Uh,
sounds good at the moment, but
mhm.
what is he
It's
actually going to do?
exactly, he's playing politics. Is
Right.
exactly what he's doing. It's fully
That's
it's the
why I'd
same as
like
the
to
two
see an
hundred dollar check,
election.
right?
I don't agree with the federal election right now because I think the tariffs and threats and the insecurities that Canada is facing right now,
Yep.
it would take too long for in federal government, especially if everyone thinks PP is going to win without a security clearance,
Hmm.
that can be damaging to Canada's security.
Hmm.
So I don't agree with federal at the moment, but I do agree with provincial. at the moment. And I don't mean to sound harsh. I really
No, no.
don't. And as far as the tariffs go,
Smarshy, I see you. One more minute, okay?
sorry, Smarshy, I'll let you talk. I'll let you talk. I'm muting.
No, no. Go ahead. Finish
No,
what
no,
you
no.
had.
Go
How you
ahead,
guys
Grandma
doing?
Sandy. I'm just waiting. We're just waiting for Grandma Sandy to finish her point. Okay.
Yeah. So Smarshy, you go next, and then after you, daily prayers. You can go, and then back to Angela.
As far as tariffs go, uh, I thought, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Donald Trump bragged about in his first presidency about how great he a tariff agreement he made with Canada. So I think a lot of his threats against the tariffs, I don't think they'll be followed through because the states is already suffering from his um, talk about tariffs,
Mhm.
where other countries that they import from, like coffee, etc.,
Mhm.
has increased in price before the tariff is even solidified
Yeah.
because they want to get ahead of it. So the American people are already suffering with higher prices.
Yeah, and just to add to that quickly, then Smarshy Europe, the coffee prices as well, guys, is demand and supply, and there's a lot of issues within the workers' rights within the coffee industry when it comes to where it's grown, how they do things. Same with cocoa beans. Cocoa beans is another one that has a massive issue with that sort
Totally
of stuff.
correct.
Yeah.
Totally correct.
So that's a part of it too. And like with economists actually kind of predicted the coffee price going up as well. So there was, like you said, there was inflation in the price already, but it's been exacerbated by what's going on right now. Absolutely. Smarshy, go ahead. I apologize. You waited so long.
No, it's okay, actually. I love hearing Grandma Sandy talk. She's absolutely amazing. Angela's absolutely amazing as well. But here's
She
the thing.
is.
Um, in 2024 to 2022, the increase of certain substances went down 80%, right? So I'm watching a video that Johnny did, and if you look at it, it's amazing. He broke it down very simply. Um, And to answer your question, yes, he did try to strong arm Trudeau in 2019 about the tariffs of soft lumber, and he did try to say, "Oh, I'm gonna take him. He's gonna be under my." No, the thing is, we have to follow the North American Free Trade Agreement or the USMCA, right? We have to follow those
Well,
trade
well,
agreements.
just quickly. So the softwood lumber agreement is actually a different agreement.
Oh,
Um,
okay, yeah.
outside of the NAFTA deal.
Are
Um,
you okay? Yeah, I'll concede on that one. Okay, so like
no, no, I'm not trying to be a smart A or anything.
no,
It's
no,
just
no, no,
one of
no, no.
those.
You are more well versed on this than I am. I'm just catching up. So I believe you have more knowledge on this. Anyway, that's besides the point. The thing is though, Grandma Sandy, it doesn't matter what the trade agreement is. It doesn't matter. You can't really go above. I think I was looking at it now. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can't go above 20%. And with that being said, him doing these tariffs are going to hurt America more than it's going to hurt Canada because they get 90% of all their electricity comes from us. 60% of
Thank you.
all
That's
their,
what I was trying to
yeah,
point out.
yeah, 60% of all like oil and lumber and all that stuff come from us. Minerals come from us. So there's more, and I've been trying to tell my American friends this, and they're like, no, that's not how it works. And I'm like, no, like, so I break it down for them, right? You look at lumber, how much we send to America, how much they send to us, how much they give to us, and back and forth. Canada right now, we'd be good if we had to find another partner to trade with, we would be fine. We would be okay. We take a hit, yes, we would take a hit, but it would definitely um we definitely would take a hit, not gonna lie. But we could bounce back from that, not a problem. They can't. They need us. They need
Smarshy,
our
the other thing to look at, and I'm sorry to interrupt,
No, it's fine.
is
Go ahead.
sorry,
Go ahead.
you're on the right path because a lot of countries want to deal with Canada.
Yeah, I know.
And if the US is going to pull out of NATO, if they're going to pull out of World Health Organization, if they're going to pull out of all these places,
Yeah.
more countries are going to um, back off of the US. So
No,
it
no.
gives us a clearer lane to do exactly what you just said.
Okay. So, yes, we can find another trade partner, right? We can, anytime we do that, we can find a trade partner. Like, that's not the thing. People want to, like you said, people want to deal with Canada. Absolutely. Everyone tells everyone when they go, like, I have friends in the US that go abroad. Every time they're like, what do I do? Like, do I say I'm American? I'm like, I wouldn't. Because not everyone likes America. Like, let's just be honest. Americans are kind of the whole whatever. Anyway, the thing is, they need us more than we need them. It's gonna hurt them a lot more than it's gonna hurt us. We might go into a recession, and that's the thing. And we've been through recessions before. We have. It's been tough. It's been rough. You know, we've sat here and we've done all this and we've done everything we need to do. As long as we stay firm as a country, we're good. Um, the one thing I want to say, the substances are not why he wants to do the tariffs. That's not why he wants to do the tariffs. He wants to do the tariffs because he's a little shit human being and he doesn't care about anyone else but himself. Really, like let's be truly and honestly, that's how he is. He's always going to be that way. Um, and again, him deporting all those illegal people, he has to look at all border entries. He has to look at Ellis Island. He has to look at the borders on both sides, North and American southern borders. He has to look at the airplanes because to people, oh, oh, we will be fine, DG. I agree, we will fine. Here's the thing: most immigrants that are in Canada illegally or America illegally,
Mhm.
as they want to say it, are the people that are on visas for student or work. Those are the ones they have to look at, but they're not because they're white and they're not, then they're brown. That's what it is. It's all on fucking race, is all it is. Race and
Well,
ethnicity.
there's a lot of the racial aspect. Absolutely,
Oh
I
yeah,
won't disagree with you on that.
right. But
Um,
I mean, how
yeah.
many? How
So,
many?
since
Sorry.
Marcy,
Anyway,
we no, it's okay. We're just gonna move on to Angela because she's been waiting patiently. So I thank you for all your thoughts.
oh, I thank
Your
you. I gotta go. I gotta do some other stuff. And so, thank you for having me. I love you guys. You guys are all beautiful. Stay wonderful and all
awesome.
that
Well,
jazz.
thank you for joining, Marcy. Really appreciate it.
So, hi.
Angela,
Is there an
hi.
agreement now? Is there some kind of agreement that's happening potentially between Canada and the U.S. in regards to this retaliation from the tariffs that are happening? Have you heard about that?
Well, the tariffs. That's what I've been talking about. Is the tariffs that's going
No,
on.
no, the between Canada and Canada. Sorry, I meant to say Canada and China. I'm sorry to say that. Did you hear about the Canada and China? Something about trying to work out some kind of an agreement because of the situation that's
Well,
happening?
this is yeah. So we already have quite a bit with China in terms of trade and whatnot, and I think there is a possible option of expanding trade with China to be able to offset the effects of the tariffs. Absolutely,
Yeah.
and there have been other countries that we kind of there's been whispers of, so I don't want to say anything
No, no,
too
no. Yeah.
to make people think because it's essentially all I have is rumors
Yeah.
that I've picked up
But
on.
remember this
Uh,
one because
but that's something that definitely could be a long-term fix. And I do want to say there have been people in the chat. I want to acknowledge that you're absolutely right. A lot that I've seen was they were talking about oil. Um, and how yes, we ship our oil to the United States, but we do it in essentially raw form. They process it and then sell it back to us. One way of offsetting, of course, and I'm not, please don't take me as an isolationist, but I think if we were to actually allow ourselves to be able to refine the oil here in Canada would absolutely be a good way to offset. And even with different industries too, like beef, right? Because beef, a lot of times we raise, we feed, we take care of, and then the end result, and then we send it to them, and they butcher it, and then sell it back to us at a higher price.
Right.
So I mean, to look at all the different industries that we have that are interconnected and figure out which ones would actually be feasible for us to not be so coupled with them. Um, and I mean, if we're going to have to renegotiate trade, then now's the time to do that sort of stuff and just bolster Canadian products and keep it more within our own borders, really. Um, but I realize there's the implications too, because as much as we can do that, it's still we have to be careful because with the way trade is on a global scale, you can't pull out a trade willy nilly and not have massive repercussions for the Canadian economy as well, right?
Yeah, right.
So it's really a balancing act, I think. Sean, you've been waiting, and then we'll have Radical afterwards.
Hello. I think it's the
Hey,
first time I've ever seen you, Moose. You go by Moose?
yeah, my name's the Progressive Moose.
Oh, well, hello, Moose. I'm Sean. I've been up here a couple times in Beaver politics.
Yeah,
So what I want to say, so I'm not saying this to scare anyone. I'm not saying this as fact. I just have a very strong gut feeling that his end game, I think, actually might be annexing Canada. Because if we look at the Arctic, Putin has been after the Arctic for decades, or well, he's only been there for about 2 decades or so. Anyways, and with all the ice melting, they're said to be about 7 to 10% of the world's fossil fuels under there, amongst many other types of different minerals and all that,
yeah,
and also water. I saw, I forget the name of not the movie, the documentary about water several years ago, and
yeah.
water is going to be our biggest commodity in the next couple of decades. And all these big superpowers don't want to be bending the knee to Canada just to get all these resources.
And
So,
that's absolutely. I'm actually glad. Sorry, if you have a bit more, absolutely. I just want to say quickly, Miss Radical, you had perfect timing because me and you have had this conversation before. So absolutely perfect timing on this. Um,
yeah, I don't have much more to say. All I just know is, not know, but have a big feeling that all this is leading to draining Canada of our resources for profit. I think
yep.
that's the main end game. Whether it's an annexation or like a free trade agreement that makes us lose big time or something like that, I think we really have to be aware of where this can go.
No, absolutely. Miss Radical, do you want to follow up on that one?
John nailed it, right? Like Putin has been after this for a very long time. And it
Yeah.
kind of hit me when Putin said, like, right after the Trump presidency took place, like it wasn't even a week, and Putin was like, Trump needs to keep his promises,
Mhm.
right? And the promise is to give that canal. He wants to get through there. He wants that shipping passage.
Yep.
And if
It's
we don't give it up, it'll be a war.
Yeah, no, you're right, and it's one of those things where like Canada definitely because it's technically our waters under the lines that are drawn and yada yada yada.
200 miles
Mhm,
off the shoreline type thing is Canada. 200 miles of water off Russia is Russia's.
mhm,
They want more.
yep.
So they want to gain an extra 200 miles.
Oh,
Yeah,
200 miles or 200
I've done so
kilometers?
much research on this.
Is
So,
it 200 miles or 200 kilometers?
oh, probably kilometers, but I'm old.
Okay. No, it's
I
okay.
graduated before metric came in.
I love that.
Okay,
Okay.
So all I'm saying is I agree with all of you,
Hmm.
but I think the threat is more, it's closer than we think.
Oh, it's close. It's
Yeah,
close.
Right.
absolutely. Yep.
And I think a lot of people are missing that.
The
And we
the
have to get our 1.2% up to the 2% NATO wants for military
Yeah.
so that we can be um, a stronghold.
Yeah.
We don't want to be the weak party with all the people that are going to come to help us.
mhm,
We need to be laser sharp.
Right, exactly.
absolutely, and that's the biggest thing with. I mean, we've seen it in movies already. But I mean, economists, global economists have already predicted like there's going to be massive implications when it comes to resources moving forward, right? Like oil being one of the biggest ones, where yeah, countries are going to start to be, for lack of better words, tapped out, and there's going to be massive repercussions on that.
And
There's
Canada didn't waste their resources, which made us a target in the long run.
mhm. And you got to remember too the extra factor in that I think too is the fact that we're allied with the United States. So when it comes to Russia, we are allied with the United States, and we're kind of in the middle of the two of them, except for Alaska. Um, so that's we're prime kind of hitting point if we're gonna dive into more of possible military
Well,
action of some sort.
does the US, and I have tried to find this on the internet, does the US have any right to the passage through the Bering Strait? Even though they have Alaska,
No.
they don't have
So
the rights to the Bering Strait, right?
Oh,
no. So
I don't know.
Canada has the rights to it, and that's why I believe in an international court, like the U.S. Essentially has a case to try and have some sort of hand or control, as well as Russia. Ms. Radical, I believe we talked about before, where Russia is saying they want more fishing waters, so that would
Yep.
come
That's
closer
just
to
their
kind of
little
infringe
excuse to
on.
get in.
Yeah, and that exactly. It's an excuse, and the world is going to be looking at that passage because it's going to offset once it becomes available, and we make an actual trade passage there. It is going to offset trade because certain countries aren't going to have to travel all the way down through the Panama Canal or anything like that.
Exactly.
It'll be more mainline, mainstream because it'll cut so much time off of like trade shipping and getting from country to country in so many different ways. And it'll save billions upon billions in terms of the cost of trade, to get products from point A to point B. And just overall, it would help the world in all honesty, and
And
our
we would,
economy because we would get the revenue from it.
Hmm. What do you think
but I
Putin would
think
do if he
Canada's
had
being
access?
smart in protecting what they have at the moment. I would feel a little more secure if they had a better military. And I'm really sad that we haven't kept up to our promise because we're supposed to be at 1.6 minimum right now, and we're only at 1.2 as far as I know.
Yeah, it's hard to, Miss Radical. I know you had something to say, but
Sorry.
just to that point, quick. No, it's okay, but just to that point, quick. That's where a lot of people need to factor in too. Like recruitment has been down for the military, I think by like 35% over the last. I can't remember if it was like 10 or 15 years. So like recruitment is way, way down for military because people just don't have like we're tired of war. We're tired of the conflict, and people are moving away from wanting to go to the military because they just want fucking peace for once.
I gotta tell you though, you're missing out on an amazing experience joining the military. And
Oh,
I
it
know that
absolutely
sounds
can be.
crazy.
Yeah.
I grew up on the military base as a kid, and it gave us a life that we would have never had the opportunity to have.
Hmm.
You know, I used to play on a Hercules airplane.
So jealous.
Yeah. I got to sit in the cockpit and help navigate it. I got to fly in Labrador helicopters with the doors open and the headphones on. You know, it's an amazing, amazing experience and education for somebody starting out their life.
Mhm. Nice. Yeah, and don't get me wrong, when I say that sort of stuff, I
Mhm.
absolutely honor and respect veterans and anyone
Yeah.
who serves, guys. I'm not dumping on soldiers.
No, it's
Um,
just my plug for the military. I love
yeah,
them.
no, I just want to make sure
Yeah,
people know I'm not dumping on soldiers
for
because I
sure.
definitely respect and honor. Um, yeah, Paula, yeah, Polly chick.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. I just got here. What's the topic? What are we doing?
We've been talking about the pending tariff situation for Canada.
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah, that's not good. I hope we do something. Like in BC here, they're planning on David Eby says that he wants to charge people to travel across the border to Alaska.
Okay.
So, yeah, charge USA people to because before they would just of course do it for free, right? But he wants to start charging them a fee to go across Canada. And they closed the a trail here for people for because they could cross the border really quick just to do
Yep.
this trail. So they closed it so they can no longer go across the border to um, go on the trail. I hope that um, we stand up and we fight back against these tariffs. And I don't believe that Pierre Poilievre is the person who's going to do that. I think Pierre Poilievre would cave
Mhm.
and give the USA what they want.
No, absolutely. And we've already seen, like in terms of Polyev, he's already caving, right? Because he's essentially, compared to how boisterous he would normally be, like the guy's been silent. And I think it goes to show, just like pretty much everything else, like he really doesn't have a plan, or it's not well thought out at this point. And I mean, we know the way he is. All he does is finger point and scream, but he doesn't actually give us any sort of solutions to any of the nonsense that he likes to talk, right? So, um,
It's not just solutions. He has says all the buzzwords that Trump
mhm.
used. So he's very dangerous. Like this recent visit that he had to, I don't know where, I think it was a Jewish synagogue. I'm not sure. Anybody can correct me on that. Where he said that anybody who protests in a Palestinian protest um, should be deported. And the majority of the people who are protesting are Canadian. Actually, I would even almost say all of them are probably Canadian. I don't think there would be many that are immigrants at all. But that's the same buzzwords that Trump's using. And did you just hear that Trump? Did you hear what Trump just did? He's opening up a camp in Guatemala Bay,
Yeah,
30,000 people.
I caught bare minimum on it. Unfortunately, I've been busy like all day I
With
was
this,
busy with
yeah.
work, so I haven't been able to like keep up on everything yet. Yeah, no, I did see that broke, and I'm probably gonna dive into that first thing tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
um, and
My
and
husband
get
says
caught
that's where
up.
they keep war criminals.
Hmm.
Guantanamo. I can't say it right
Yeah,
now.
and
Not.
guys, just for context, Guantanamo Bay,
Thank you.
I think. You're
I don't
welcome.
know what's
Just
wrong
for
with my brain. I could say it an hour ago. Now I can't say it.
just for context, guys, remember your history. Go back, rattle your brain, and think of in history when were there other times that the population was sent to camps in a different country, and what happened?
Just remember what happened in Afghanistan.
That
What the
one too.
Americans did to those people when they got charged. They
Yes.
SA'd those individuals. They group SA'd them and attacked them and tortured them.
Yep.
And they all got found guilty, I believe, a lot of those soldiers in that. Those pictures
It
actually,
was massive.
it's
Yep.
disgusting.
I totally 100% agree. And I think that proves the point that we're all trying to say
Hmm.
is that at this particular point, the U.S. isn't a country that we can just shrug off anymore or laugh about. We have to actually take it seriously and do something about it. And that brings me back to I don't think it's right to have a forced federal election soon when our country is in so much turmoil.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who I want to vote for. I
Hmm.
just don't think the federal government should be upset when they are stabilized at the moment to that's probably not the right word. Um Trudeau, to me, out of them all, seems to be the best on the world stage. It seems to me he's had some of the best. Now, I don't know if he still does, has some of the best negotiators. But I think it would hurt Canada on a whole to have a federal election.
No, absolutely. And that's kind of where I stand when it comes to Ontario having the election. Like I get where you come from on that one. And yeah, I agree with to the extent of that on the provincial level for Ontario as well. But I just like with everything going on, I think at this point it's irresponsible for any politician provincially or on the federal level to call an election, given what we're facing. And I mean, I my main point on that one is, I mean, our politicians just need to do their fucking jobs for once, and we wouldn't have to be having this conversation. Um,
Maybe working together, if they all work together in a time when we need their strength,
yeah, no,
that might
absolutely. Yep,
show the true character of a lot of these parties.
yep. No, absolutely. And like I said earlier, and that's the biggest thing, right? Because especially with when they go to sit at the end of March again in Parliament, if the leaders on the federal level are willing to forego doing the election right away to be able to actually work for Canadians and make sure that we're taken care of with all this stuff looming. Um, it'll be telling as to who votes what. And I, my hope is whoever does vote no on, pushing the election back, I hope they lose all their support. I hope it opens a can of worms for them because they show they're not for actually helping the Canadians and they're more for just bolstering their own power. And I hope whoever it is, loses so much support and that goes across party lines. If somebody says no, I don't care if they're NDP, I don't care if it's the Liberal, which won't be the Liberal because they're the ones coming up with the plans that I was talking about in the article. But point being, like even the Bloc, if they were to say no, I'm sorry guys, but I mean, they wouldn't actually be for Canadians. So, call a spade when need be. Uh, yeah. So guys, we're about 10 minutes after 9. I think what I'll do is if everyone wants, we will start with Angela and then work up Sean, Miss Radical, Polly Chick, and then back down to Grandma Sandy, and we'll call it a show.
Okay.
Angela, you're up.
So, first of all, you brought up a lot of very important points tonight. And a reminder that Saturday, I believe, is the first, right? So there's
Yep.
going to be a lot of preparation and everything done on the federal level as well as the premiers. They're going to be, and sort of how you say it, they're going to be advising and they're going to be out there informing us of what's going to happen. So we should be prepared. But remember, we've had this before, so I think we're a little bit better prepared. However, we do know it's a second term from him, and he's out more for our resources, as we explained. And he wants to be in an economic war. He stated
Yeah,
that himself.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hold on to your butts because it's going to be a bumpy ride. Guys, quick before Sean, I just wanted to do a shameful plug. Guys, if you see that heart right up there at the top of your screen beside the Beaver Politics, if you haven't tapped that yet, guys, become a part of our team. Let's make a difference together. It's up there. Go hit it. Go hit it. And don't forget to tap a because tapping is clapping. There you go, guys. You are fantastic. Thank you for that. Sean, you're up. Last thoughts?
Um, yeah, just basically exactly what Angela said. We're up for some hard times. I do think we all have to come together because we are going to have to rely on each other. Not just like, economically wise, but I mean like for psychological support, community support, and that stuff too. I do hope that our response to the tariffs are really strong. Um, like I even suggest not that anyone was listening, but I think we should just cut off oil and the electricity, the hydro from Ontario and Quebec, just for one day, just to give Trump like, look, this is what we could do, and make him rethink his position. Because if we cut that off permanently, they're going to have a lot of huge issues. Just those two items. Anyways, that's what I hope they do that, because to deal with a bully like that, you need to come out strong. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay. Yeah, and to that point, quick before Miss Radical, I don't have the numbers in front of me, guys, but I remember when Biden first got into office, and essentially oil companies were asking for more land rights, so they could, potentially drill more. But I mean, the fact of the matter is the oil companies down in the United States have so much like land rights. Um, and a part of how the oil sector, or oil prices goes is supply and demand. And oil companies down in the States deliberately hold back drilling oil or sucking oil out of the ground so they can control the market more. Um, so that's another factor. Like, yes, absolutely. Like, they rely heavily on Canadian oil. You're absolutely right on that. Uh, I wonder with Trump being the way he is in terms of his pro business, pro, drill, baby, drill. Um, it might just bolster that a bit, but I mean, in the short term, it would absolutely have an effect on the American oil sector. And like you said, hydro, absolutely. That's one thing I hope Doug Ford absolutely does. I think it'd be great. I would laugh the entire time. Miss Radical?
So this is a really stressful time for everybody, right?
Mhm.
Like it's sending my amygdala shaking all over the place when I'm on social media. And that's exactly what it's supposed to be doing right now. He is masterful at the six ring circus.
Yeah,
And so everything's flying around us.
absolutely. Did we lose you?
So this what to do
Yeah, she
and
went
how
away.
to be how to have some hope, right?
Yeah.
No, maybe here. So try to have some hope.
You're back.
So what I think we should really start thinking about, thanks. What I think we should start thinking about is hopeful messages, sticking with each other. If you have room in your basement to share with somebody else, if you can share your cuttings with a farmer and they can share their eggs, if you
Hmm.
can grow a garden and you can do a community thing and share it with other people, that's what they did in the war in wartime. is
Yep.
they came together and they really stuck together, and I think that's the thing that's within our control. And that's the thing that's going to bring us together, because it is scary, and John was nailed it. So we got to keep ourselves calm, order seeds, you know, come together, learn to bake bread. I went to the store. I don't want to like put a mass thing out and scare everybody, but for myself, I was like, you know what I can do? I can make bread.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm investing my money in flour and things to make bread. And maybe I'm going to get a KitchenAid. Well, not a KitchenAid, but I'm going to get something. You know what I mean? And I'm going to
Yep.
make bread. So, in all this doom and gloom, think about what we can personally control within ourselves and breathe.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right, and that was brought up in my live on Sunday when talking about this stuff. Definitely different information now compared to what I had on Sunday, of course. But that's one of the biggest things, everyone, is it as much as yes, there's so much chaotic information and news and it's doom and gloom and it's, talking about hardships. It, there's so much we can do, like Miss Radical said. Like it's guys, if you have the ability to grow your own plants, grow your own vegetables, all that sort of stuff, by all means. Like it's a way to cut costs for you. It's a way you know where that stuff's coming from, and within those months, you're going to be more food secure. Also, community. Community is the biggest thing, guys. Whether it's here on TikTok, whether it's progressive community, or whatever your political alignment is, whether it's your friends and family, you know, helping each other out when you can. That is the biggest thing. I've always lived by that, and especially when we hit times like this, where depending what happens, we might hit a recession and things get exacerbated. We got to be able to take care of each other and rely on each other to get us through this time and push through as the people to fight for a better outcome in the end. So absolutely, great message. Polychick, last thoughts.
I agree. We need to stick together. We need to stop infighting, for one, like come
Yep,
together, forgive each other, be kind to each other, listen to each other, and yeah, come together. And yeah, we also need to mobilize and go protest at the US embassies.
absolutely.
So
I like
that's what
that
I'm
one. Yeah,
thinking that we should be doing. Maybe setting something up where we can go and protest at the embassies, because um, people are afraid. That's all I can see now on my feed are people in the 2S LGBTQIA plus community. They're crying and they're scared and they don't know what to do now in the
yeah,
United States of America. Trans people are just terrified out of their minds. Um, uh, Migrants,
yeah,
immigrants, um, they're terrified. I mean, yesterday on the news,
yeah,
Trump's press secretary was asked, how many criminals were there in the group and everybody that you arrested? And she said, everybody that's in the States illegal is a criminal. And so they're like, well, how many had criminal records? Like, how many were charged and had criminal records? And she said, again, everybody that's in the United States of America illegally are criminals. So nobody was criminals. I think it was pretty rare. Maybe a couple probably were criminals of all the people that they rounded up, and they continue to round up today. And
yeah,
now they're opening up concentration like things like concentration camps almost.
yeah.
So we can't have that. We can't let this happen again. We can't let it happen again.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean that goes back to the similarities we've seen throughout history. And I just want to add to that as well, guys. I did make a video here on TikTok highlighting a CNN article explaining that down in New Mexico, ISIS is actually stopping the indigenous community and asking for proof of citizenship under threat of deportation. So in my video, I point out the fact that the underlying reason for these policies and executive orders And of course, we know exactly what that is. It's skin color. Okay, so essentially, if you're not of a certain skin color, you got to go. Even though it's your land, it's just it's blatant in my opinion, right there. Of course, the other implications, but absolutely, if you're not a straight cis white male, guys, we got to band together. That's that's the most important thing. Cross borders, cross provinces, cross states, cross the globe. And that's the biggest thing right now, especially with the right wing push, not only here in North America, but around the world. We're seeing it, right? And we're going to see more of it, unfortunately, I think, moving forward. It's just a matter of how long until us, the people, have had enough and finally take back our power um, as a united front. Grandma Sandy, last thoughts before we wrap up?
I agree with everything that everyone said as their last thoughts. And I'm going to admit that what is happening down in the States is scaring me. And I don't know how to combat that except for by joining more groups, being more united, not arguing, not. I'm doing all of those things.
Yeah.
The community I'm lucky enough to live in, we've lived in the same tiny community for such a long time, and we're all aging. I'm one of the youngest, and I'm old. So we have already set up our community gardens where what's going to go best on this property, what's going to go best over here. I've done most of that research, so we know we're going to be basically secure on food, but I think we need more unity in Canada than what I'm seeing now. I don't know how to explain that. I'm trying to say,
I think I get, yeah, I think I get what you're saying. Like, the fact of the matter is, we're too busy fighting with each other, whether it's left versus right, whether I think you're right or wrong, whether the sky is blue or green or teal. Um,
right, like I've backtracked from even responding to people who uh, who I don't agree with politically or I don't believe in, that are people that want to be united Canadians. So I've already backtracked from that, and it's very distressful to me. And I think also because if you think about when I started growing up, we weren't we were basically 15 years or less out of the war. So we were still recovering. And I don't wish that on anybody. I don't wish the struggles on the US citizens or Canadian citizens, but I do believe, and I can't stress it enough, I do believe the threat is real. And I don't think I'm being worrisome or I truly believe we're going to see bigger changes than what we're expecting.
yeah, and I agree with you on that. I think the unfortunate side of things, given where we are now, is that yeah, things are probably going to get a bit worse. It's going to get dicey. It's going to get messy. But what I want to make very clear and put out there into the universe, throw the vibes out there, get it in people's minds is the fact that we have people that are having these conversations. Okay, whether it's us here on this live on TikTok, whether it's in other forums, on Discord, YouTube, I mean, pick one. Even our daily lives, as long as we can find people to actually have these conversations, that's where I see the hope. Because right now, um, I think of politics the way it should be thought of. But unfortunately, in Canadian politics, or at least when it comes to the majority of voters, they look at it a different way than what they should. It's all camp based. It's all my side versus yours. Yada 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 yada.
Exactly.
Um, so where I was going with that is the conservatives tend to, just like the Republicans, parrot whatever their base wants, right? So as long as we can keep these conversations going, and that holds true to any political party, in all honesty, right? Like as long as you're clear with your politicians what you want, they want your support. So they're gonna want to make sure, if enough people want something, it becomes a reality. So the fact that we can have these conversations here, as well as within our own daily lives outside of the internet, and have these conversations means that there's attention being brought to it, especially when you can bolster the things that we believe or the things that we hold dear, our values, right? Basic human rights, basic human decency. As long as we can continue to fight for those things, stand up for literally everyone, regardless of skin color, regardless of religion, regardless of creed, just like the U.S. swearing in ceremony where Trump says it and, he's got his fingers crossed behind him. Um, so that's the stuff that we need to do. We need to bolster every single person. We need to stand beside our brothers and sisters within their struggles, to be there for one another, uh, and just continue to fight, guys. And it will get better because there is a movement starting in Canada. I I I feel it. It's coming. And the people are going to rally together and we are going to get our power back. And it's not going to be the theater of government anymore. They're actually going to start doing their damn jobs. But we got to fight for it and we got to go until it's done. We can't stop. And on that note, guys, I really appreciate everyone showing up. Thank you so much, for the Beaver Politics crew for bringing me onto the onto the mission, and I'm looking forward to it. It's been a great night, guys. Great conversation. I'm so appreciative for everyone that came up and talked. For everyone in the conversation, in the chat, guys. Again, quickly before we go, if you haven't become a part of the team yet, that little gold heart up there, guys, give that a tap. Become a part of the team, and let's make a difference together. We can't do it without you, and we need everyone to take part for us to have the best outcome for Canadians and the rest of the world. So, for now, guys, that's it for me. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow for tomorrow's live, again at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. And until then, guys, we'll see you next time. Have a great night, everybody.